My name's Anthony Ross, and this is my story. I grew up in a small town in South Arkansas, McGee, Arkansas. Not much to do there. To say we had a happy home would be an understatement. My mom was in terrible marriage, abusive marriage, drugs, alcohol, and we were right there in the middle of it. Really no way out of it. Until one morning we woke up and my mom told us to pack our bags. Let's go, we got to get out. Russellville, we came to Russellville, never seen such a big city, never seen so many white people. So jump into school, you know, going into 6th grade, you know, growing up without a dad, never really affected me until I got in school and really began to see my issues with authority, to see the way I treated women. I was a hurt kid. I was heartbroken. Had a huge hole in my heart that no matter how many girlfriends I had, no matter how many times I mistreated my teachers, doesn't matter how many times I, you know, bullied someone or beat someone up at school, it just never ever worked. I'd go home and cry myself to sleep, you know, probably 80% of the night. I had principals that worked with me. Mark Gocher he was huge. Pulled me by my ear, take me to the principal's office and tell me there was something inside of me. I had to dig for it. I had to go find it. Man, it was rough. But I jumped in with the wrong crowd. I began trying to find happiness in girls and women, and thought that you know, running with the tough crowd and being a bully at school, and someone looks at me bad, I was going to beat them up on the playground. That's just who I was. That's what my identity was. I found my identity in that. But I was hurting. You know, I put on this face at school that I was a big bully, and I'd go home and I'd lay in my bed and I just wanted someone to talk to. I wanted someone to, you know, to teach me how to be a man. I wanted somebody to take me out and, you know, talk to me about what's going on in school. Talk to me about why I had bad grades, why I disrespected my teachers. I had a basketball coach named Don Keister, one of the greatest influential men in my life. He kept me. I got suspended off the bus for beating up somebody on the bus and wave him off at the door, and he bust in that door and dragged me out of bed in that big red dually. To say I knew about God would be an understatement. To say I, you know, knew what it meant to have a relationship with Jesus, man, never even thought about that. But I knew there was something more. I knew there was something more in my life. I went to community service, had hundreds of hours, and then I stole their alarm clock and DVD player out of there. I mean, just a lost kid. And, you know, I look back on that person now and it just, it amazes me. And so I went to court, and probably the best thing that ever happened to me. One of the most emotional days, emotional 4 days that I've ever been in, but I went in there and he looked at me and said, Mr. Anthony, he said, there's not much more I can do. He said, you've done all the community service hours, you can't even go back there. He says, I'm going to lock you up. He said, I'm going to send you to Faulkner County Penitentiary, Juvenile Detention Center. And man, I hear my mom wailing in the background. She's crying. And I have to be tough. I know that, you know, in front of people, you can't cry, you can't show emotion. So I had just this dead look on my face, and I did nothing for 48 hours. I cried, and I cried, and I cried, and I cried, and I've never in my life felt so lonely. I've never in my life felt so out of touch with people. And I just wanted somebody that's, as weird as it sounded, I just wanted somebody to hug me. I just wanted someone to come and tell me, like, hey, there's more out of the world. And, you know, I would think about, you know, my conversations with Mr. Gocher. I think about my conversations with Coach Keister. But then on the flip side, I remember that, you know, the coach that told me that I should just drop out and sell drugs like my brother, or, you know, that there was nothing in life, that I was one of the most annoying kids they ever had. That first night I laid down and went to bed, and man, I just had this clear voice just talk to me and just ask me, what is it that you want, Anthony? That's all it was. It just said, what is it that you want? And I just began to ask God, just bluntly, just saying, you know, God, they say that you're out there and that you care about us, but why is it that I had to grow up without a dad? You know, why is it that when I really needed somebody that, you know, there was nobody there? Why is it that I have anger problems? Why is it that, you know, why can't you just fix it all in the snap of a finger? Here it is at 72 hours I'm in the cell, and, you know, I've heard God speak to me 3 times, and at this time I didn't know it. And after the third time, like, I realized it, like, man, that's God. That's God talking to me. But I had a joy. Like, I knew, like, man, there's, like, God's talking to me. And I didn't know what that looks like, but I knew what it sounded like, and I knew that it was something different. I got an invite to go to the 3-on-3 basketball tournament at House of Praise Youth Group. Pastor Mark Dollar's up there talking, and he says, God just spoke to me, and he told me that there was somebody in here that God told you, that you told God that you were going to change. And he doesn't want to get on to you. He doesn't want to do any of that. He just wants to tell you that he's still here waiting. And man, I'm surrounded by my friends, and there's no way I'm going to walk up. And I look down, and I'm walking up to the front, and I have these tears running down my face. It's a room full of teenagers, and I just hit the floor, and I just cried. And everything went by a blur. I mean, I just cried, and I've never, ever in my life felt a man wrap me in his arms. Up to that point, I never remember getting a hug from a man. But to this day, that was the most comfortable, the most at peace, the most I've ever felt love was sitting there at that altar. And so I began to open my Bible at home, and man, I went out and bought a Trip Lee CD. It was some Christian rap. I had to try something new, and I had people like J.P. Dickey and Taylor Drain, man, that just would reach out to me and, let me hang out with them and do things like that. Man, from there, when God started convicting me on the things that I need to change and, understanding His Word and what He wanted out of my life, holy smokes. I mean, life just began to soar, and it was nothing that I did, but, getting good grades, man, I became super smart. Like, I began to understand algebra and Algebra 2 and geometry. Just with a breeze. It just wasn't going home and studying for a test was something I desired to do versus, feeling like it's something, because I wanted to be excellent at everything. Just, and the people who told me that I wasn't going to make it, or the coach who told me that I should drop out and sell drugs, those people were constantly on my mind, but it was just something different that I longed to please God more than I longed to prove them people wrong. And so I graduated high school. Man, I had a 3.8. Man, I went from all F's to, had that B, and, I graduated, huge accomplishment for me, and then I went to college. The only thing I long to do in life is to please God and to impact someone the way that my coach impacted me. So I wanted to go out and find that young Anthony Ross in school and find out who it was that I could encourage, who I could pick up when they didn't have a ride, who I could, keep them in sports, to keep them in school, and to give them a hope. To this day, I got a dream job. I hated kids growing up. I didn't even enjoy being around them in high school. Even when I was saved, I didn't want to be around kids. I get on the bus and they just annoyed me, and I try to sit as far as away from it. I got in college, and it's just like God just smacked me in the face and said, here's what you were called to do. And David Eslick asked me to run a VBS, and I'm thinking, I don't even know how to run a VBS. I love church, man. I feel like I could teach it, and I did that. And the next thing you know, I look up, and I've been children's pastor for 4 years. I get a dream job working at Darnell Primary as the elementary PE teacher. I'm able to coach soccer and all these things. And when I decided to look back and think that nobody was there, God was staring straight in my face and saying that I was here. That you have a future, and there's hope, and there's something that He did for me that my wife can't do for me, my mom can't do for me. But man, He restored everything that I lost. I dated my wife, and the first time that we slept together was our wedding night. Have a relationship with my dad again. That's not something that Anthony can do. Anthony's not very smart. Jeremiah talks about the tree that's planted by the stream. That's my life. That no matter what happens, no matter what wind comes through, no matter what storms, even in the winter, that I produce fruit. Even in my toughest times, I know that God's got my back. Man, my story is just, when you think that there's no way out, if you know God or if you don't know God, man, there's hope. There's so much hope. But when I said, God, I need you, I need your help, there was a peace and a comfort, and it just allowed for God to come in. And He didn't just come in and completely wipe everything away. He cleaned it. And to know that I graduated college and I have a job, and the Anthony in 9th grade that said, I just want to do whatever pleases you, has never changed. And God's never changed, and He's never going to change.